In this video, I'm going to share with you 5 things that I wish I knew before I got married. Whether you're single or married, you should get something out of this video. Number 1, marriage can be hard. So in almost every movie dealing with love, at the end the 2 characters finally come together and it's happy ever after? Well, sometimes in the real world, things can look a lot different. Hear me on this. God designed marriage to be a transformational experience. Literally, 2 people become one flesh. You become united to that special someone. And along with that, anything hidden begins to come to the surface. Weaknesses, insecurities, frustrations, fears, anxieties. Things you could hide from your old roommate or your coworkers, and even your best friends. But not with your new spouse. Not with the one you have become one with. Now, the beautiful thing is that if you allow the process to work, the Lord will begin to purify you like never before. That junk pushed down deep within your soul can now be dealt with in the beautiful crucible called marriage. I'm such a better person now, and a lot more humble and a lot more free because of the purification process that has occurred in my own marriage. My wife and I, we've been pushed to our very limits, and both of us have reached the end of ourselves. But wow, we found Jesus in a greater way than we could ever imagine. But then when children come, it takes us to a whole nother level, but that's for another video. Number 2. Your spouse is not you. Let me unpack this. For whatever reason, when you start dating, courting that special person that you find so amazing, it seems like nothing else matters. Any areas of disagreement or contention are simply overlooked, and the good feelings of love and romance take precedence over everything else. Well, the reality is that a lot of those feelings are not real. Real in a sense that once marriage takes place, a lot of those gushy-mushy feelings that you felt turn out to not be so dense. Areas that used to seem so insignificant are now major points of contention and argument. Mainly because though you are one flesh, you are still 2 separate people, made in the image of God. Adam and Eve were both different people with different callings and giftings. You and your spouse too are different people with different callings and giftings. You will not see eye to eye on everything because that is God's design. My spouse is an amazing part of my life because she can see things that I cannot see. She senses things that I cannot sense. She can give me insight into a situation that before was unobtainable. Now, I learned this through experience. But earlier in our marriage, I thought this was a showcase of her own spiritual immaturity. And if she didn't see things the way I saw them, well, she just needs to catch up to my level. Thank God for His mercy that He actually showed us that our differing views were a gift. Because now, instead of living from one place of perception, we can live from 2 places of perception. I can now glean from my wife's abilities and giftings along with my own, and vice versa, so that together we can operate from a greater place of decision-making potential and ability, as we live in harmony and mutual respect and honor for one another. Number 3, the power of date nights. Now, before you toss this aside saying, yeah, I know, we gotta date our spouse, yada yada. Listen to me. I said the same thing in my head. I tossed it aside and said, yo, we live in the same apartment, we have dinner every night together, we sleep and wake up together. Every night is a date. Our life together is one big date. Men, guys, boys, this is mainly for y'all. Unless your spouse is very unique to other women, she wants you to date her. She wants you to pursue her, not just in bed. She will need you to pursue her. She will need you to date her. And by dating, I mean the 2 of you leave your house and do something for the sake of being together. Not multitasking errands and say it's quality time. But your outing is for you both to just be together and enjoy each other. My wife Laura and I did not catch this revelation until 3 or 4 years into our marriage. And man, if we would have started weekly dating in the beginning of our marriage, like the first week of our marriage, we would have prevented so much heartache, and our marriage would have been so much greater in those earlier years. But the Lord revealed this to us, and now date night is one of our favorite times in the week. We talk and share our hearts and just relax in one another. Drink some kombucha and some dark chocolate and just walk. Maybe I'll do a video on how we do date night each week, even with 3 small children. Number 4, you are not called to fix your spouse. This is another one you hear over and over again. And there's a reason for it. But first, on a side note, men and women, don't be arrogant. Don't be prideful watching this. If you hear married people repeat the same things over and over, take note because there's a reason for it. Just like this one. Laura and I saw so many faults in each other when we first got married, or what we considered as faults, because the things we saw did not measure up to our own expectations of each other. And on another note, that word needs to be unpacked. Expectation. Your wife or husband will never measure up to that expectation you designed in your carnal mind. They will never be your fantasy Prince Charming or your American Barbie doll. They are simply a child of God, learning and growing into the image of Christ, and have not yet reached their full maturity. We as spouses have the great opportunity to come alongside God and aid our spouses in their spiritual growth, not force their spiritual growth. We as spouses have the great privilege to come alongside God and assist our spouses in their journey with the Lord, not force their journey with the Lord. We are called to pray and to love them, not fix and subdue them. The Lord had to speak this over and over to me. You are not called to fix your wife. Over and over until finally one big dispute, he said it again to me, and it clicked. It clicked more than it ever had before. And though I still try to fix up at times her life, this revelation has truly sunk into my heart, and in my wife's own heart too, because I could still use some fixing in certain areas. Number 5, the last point, have mentors. Let me say this. You are not Christ. You are not God. In all honesty, we're all just children, and all children need some oversight. And having a mentor or mentors in your life is extremely beneficial. I was against this when my roommate kept telling me this over and over. Shout out to David Tate. I resisted. I reasoned I didn't need one. Me and Jesus have our own thing going on. But now, about a decade later, I have 2 mentors. 2 mentors that I speak to regularly over the phone. One of them I've been speaking with for over 8 years now. Both of these men are farther along than me in their walk with the Lord. Both of them love Christ. Both of them are good husbands and hard workers. They both care about me and my family and my marriage. And they're willing to talk about the hard things that I go through. They're willing to give me advice and encouragement and to pray for me. Rather than feeling restricted, I feel relieved and I feel covered. That I'm not alone. And I have other people that I can look to for guidance, that I can talk to about the good, bad, and ugly of marriage. So I strongly encourage you to ask the Lord about a mentor that you can just rest in and find comfort in. And when the Lord does provide a mentor for you, plan for a weekly, bi-weekly, or a monthly meeting time. That's a big one to make sure there's consistency in your walk. Otherwise, life takes hold, things happen, and you don't even talk to your mentor for months. I encourage you, find a godly mentor and a regular meeting time. Well, there you go. 5 things I wished I knew before getting married. And even though I had heard these things before and even agreed with these things, I didn't fully embrace these things. God had to teach me the hard way. And my hope and prayer for you is that you will embrace these things by the grace of God and firmly apply these things into your life so that you don't have to go down that hard road that I went down. Sometimes I can talk rather harshly about marriage. And I do this because so many are disillusioned by the idea of marriage. And they end up getting into a relationship with these false expectations, and then they live unhappily with their spouse or they get divorced. And that's not God's will for your life. Marriage is truly the best thing in my life other than my relationship with the Lord. It is a powerhouse of revelation and experience, a wonderful place of pleasure and joy and fulfillment. My wife is my best friend, and at the end of the day, I know this. She has my back and I have hers, and we're in this to the end. Hey, thanks for watching. Be blessed. And if you want more videos like this, subscribe so you're in the loop. Bye for now.